Welcome to today's edition of 3 Minute Halacha. This year is a year of Purim Meshulash, of a 3-day Purim, not for those of us who live in Chicago, but for the Jews who are fortunate enough to live in Yerushalayim, in a city which was walled at the time of Yehoshua and celebrates Shushan Purim. For you see, if the 15th falls on Shabbat, when some of the mitzvot of Purim can't be observed or inappropriate to be observed, we spread the mitzvot of Purim over 3 days. Even in a year of Purim Meshulash, the main day in Yerushalayim of Purim is still the 15th day of Adar, which is on Shabbat, even though it doesn't have as many mitzvot and events. And therefore, those matters which are connected directly to Tefillah and can be performed on Shabbat are done on Shabbat, which means this year on the 15th of Adar, which is Shabbat in Yerushalayim, they will read as maftir the parsha about Amalek, which is found in Beshalach. And they'll recite a special Haftorah. And they'll say Al Hanisim in both the Shemona Esrei and Birkat HaMazon. However, the Gemara explains that Megillat Esther is not read on Shabbat for one of two reasons. The first is the reason that Rabbah gave, that we were concerned a person would carry a Megillah within a public domain and violate Shabbat. Rav Yosef, however, disagrees and says it's because when poor people hear the Megillah being read, they think it's time for Matanot Levyonim. And if you read it on Shabbat, what will they do? And therefore, Megillat Esther can't be read on Shabbat. But when do you read it? Well, the Gemara also teaches that based on the words in the Megillah, V'lo Ya'avor, that the Megillah is never read past the 15th, which means you have to read it before Shabbat and not afterwards. In this case, people in Yerushalayim will read the Megillah Thursday night and Friday, just as people in the rest of the world, in cities that were not walled at the time of Yehoshua, will read the Megillah. However, since the Megillah is not being read at the real time for people in Yerushalayim, Shabbat, therefore the Mishnah Berurah rules in Taf Reish Tzadeh, Sivkat and Samach Aleph, that the Megillah should be read with a minyan. Whenever it's read early, it should always have a minyan. Matanot Levyonim, therefore, are also given on Friday because they're connected to the Megillah reading as mentioned before. According to most authorities, however, the Sudah takes place on Sunday, the 16th of Adar. The Yerushalmi explains that the reason it's not held on Shabbat is because on Shabbat we already have an obligation of a meal, and the Sudah of Purim has to be special. You can't do it on Shabbat when you have an obligation for a meal to have an obligation of yet that meal as well. However, there are those who maintain that one can fulfill the Purim Sudah on Shabbat, and so therefore the custom is to try to eat a little bit extra on Shabbat meal, just in case that's also the time for the Purim Sudah. The Sunday meeting, Al Hanisim, is not said because it's not really Purim. And the mitzvah Mishloach Manot, however, which is tied into the Purim Sudah, is performed on Sunday. Those who want to obviously fulfill the opportunity not only of a Purim Sudah on Shabbat, but can also do a form of Mishloach Manot, which is tied again to the Sudah by giving food to a neighbor or having an additional guest at the meal. Visitors to Yerushalayim on Shabbat, even if they celebrated fully on Friday, are obligated, according to most authorities, to do the mitzvot on Shabbat and then on Sunday as well. In other words, they have to have a second Purim Sudah. They had one on Friday from where they lived. They were in Yerushalayim for Shabbat. They have to have a second one on Sunday because they were in Yerushalayim on the real day of Purim on Shabbat, and Sunday is the Tashlumim. It's a makeup. Bottom line is, in Yerushalayim this year, the Purim Meshulash is made up of Friday, Megillah reading in Matanot Levyonim, Shabbat Al Hanisim, the special Maftir and Haftorah, and Sunday, the Sudah and Mishloach Manot.